This is the story of how a legendary Formula One designer and an obscure regulatory loophole might rescue the most disastrous preseason testing performance in modern racing history. The current situation inside the Aston Martin garage looks incredibly grim right now. During the highly anticipated February 2026 Bahrain testing sessions, disaster struck repeatedly for the AMR 26 Challenger. Fernando Alonso rolled to a complete stop on the track on February 19th due to a sudden technical fault. An unexpected battery failure inside the brand-new Honda power unit caused the stoppage, heavily restricting their valuable track time right before the season opener. According to the 2026 Formula One preseason testing lap counts, while a rival team like Mercedes racked up around 1,200 development laps, the green cars managed barely 400 circuits combined between the Barcelona shakedown and the Bahrain tests. Lance Stroll admitted to journalists that their current setup sits roughly 4.5 seconds behind the leading pack. That immense time deficit spells absolute catastrophe under the new 50% electric and 50% combustion engine regulations. Mechanics look exhausted, and the data screens show incredibly troubling tire degradation numbers. The sheer scale of this failure caught the motorsport community entirely off guard. Fans filled the grandstands expecting to witness a masterpiece, yet they mostly watched mechanics hiding the car behind privacy screens. The entire paddock expected a dominant showing, but instead, the crew finds themselves scrambling to find pace, despite Alonso proving the car's reliability over consistent long runs. A 4.5-second gap practically puts you in a different racing category altogether, and that explains why everyone is looking directly at one man to fix this monumental crisis. Adrian Newey officially entered the Aston Martin factory doors in March of 2025, taking on a shocking dual role as both managing technical partner and team principal for the 2026 campaign. The team's official livery was revealed on a concept car on February 9th, though the physical chassis had already broken cover earlier at the Barcelona shakedown. The chassis features aggressively extreme tube-like downward-sloping side pods, and it pairs perfectly with an unusually wide pelican nose design. Newey fully utilized the new active aero rules to reduce drag on the long straights, but a major logistical roadblock completely derailed his initial timeline. The team's state-of-the-art wind tunnel did not become fully operational until mid-April of 2025. That delay compressed their entire design cycle by 4 immense months compared to their main rivals. Newey told reporters that building a radically different aerodynamic concept focused their efforts on evolving the geometry to meet the new airflow regulations and prioritizing data quality over early mileage. While they faced simulator correlation issues over the summer, their initial shakedown runs in Barcelona were reportedly successful. Systems checks focused on baseline correlation and power unit mapping. If you want to track this wild engineering comeback as the season progresses, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We break down the technical side of the grid every single race week. Now, back to the track. Official Formula One and Aston Martin Honda announcements confirmed that Aston Martin dumped Mercedes power completely to partner directly with Honda as their official works engine supplier for this new regulatory era. The 2026 rules mandate a perfectly even split between electrical power and internal combustion, which forces manufacturers to completely rethink their power delivery systems. Honda engineers frankly struggled to match the intense demands of this massive shift. The new power unit currently lacks reliable deployment mapping, and that explains why Alonso ended up stranded in the Bahrain desert. Engine telemetry shows the battery draining far too quickly during sustained high-speed corners. The Japanese manufacturer poured millions into solving these thermal management issues over the winter break, yet the testing data proves they still lag severely behind Ferrari and Mercedes. And that is when a highly obscure paragraph in the sporting regulations suddenly became the most read document in the entire Aston Martin hospitality suite. the technical directors realized they actually have a legal pathway to accelerate their recovery directly through the rulebook. The Additional Development and Upgrade Opportunities Directive, known simply as ADUO, functions as an official safety net for struggling engine suppliers. The governing body instituted this rule specifically to prevent any single manufacturer from falling permanently behind under the completely new 2026 power unit regulations. The FIA Formula One regulations state that if the officials determine that Honda sits between 2 and 4% behind the leading power unit under the new 2026 regulations, the rules automatically grant them extra test bench hours. Even better for the Silverstone-based squad, that performance deficit unlocks one completely free in-season engine upgrade. The telemetry data indicates Honda might actually sit more than 4% off the benchmark, which would trigger an allocation of 2 separate major upgrades. This regulatory lifeline means the current disaster might actually play directly into their long-term strategy. By applying for FIA-approved reliability and safety modifications mid-season, Newey and his engineering team hope to stabilize the power unit and close the gap. The initial suffering during the winter tests basically guarantees them access to extra development resources that their faster rivals cannot legally touch. Despite the severe lack of mileage and ongoing battery issues, an eerie sense of calm currently dominates the Aston Martin garage. Fernando Alonso actively refuses to criticize the project in the media, telling Spanish broadcasters he maintains absolute faith in the recovery plan. Team representative Pedro de la Rosa echoed this unusual optimism, pointing out that having Newey as managing technical partner provides a singular, clear direction that prevents internal panic. The mechanics know the aerodynamic platform generates immense downforce in the high-speed sections, proving the foundational concept actually works. They simply need the Honda power unit to survive a full race distance, so they can finally push the chassis to its physical limits. Everyone inside the factory understands that starting from the back row in March means absolutely nothing if they can dominate by October. The combination of unlimited aerodynamic genius and standard engine development resources creates a terrifying prospect for the rest of the grid. They are actively playing a long game that nobody else can access right now. As outlined in the F1 2026 season official announcements, this bizarre situation creates an entirely unprecedented dynamic for the 2026 Formula One World Championship. If Honda successfully utilizes the ADUO regulations to fix the early season engine deficit, we might witness the most aggressive mid-year performance swing in the history of the sport. Rival team bosses are already watching the engine telemetry closely, fearing that the extra development time will act as a legal cheat code once the European leg of the calendar begins. The current 4.5-second gap forces Newey to prioritize pure reliability over outright qualifying speed for the first few rounds of the championship. Viewers should expect the green cars to run extremely conservative engine modes during the opening races in Australia, China, and Japan. But once the ADUO-approved upgrades arrive before the summer break, the Challenger could suddenly transform into a front-row contender overnight. This strategy effectively turns the first quarter of the season into an extended public testing session for the Silverstone outfit. Alonso and Stroll will likely sacrifice early championship points to gather specific tire degradation data and validate the wind tunnel numbers. The entire paddock recognizes that an angry, highly motivated Adrian Newey, armed with extra wind tunnel time, presents the ultimate threat to the established order. The real championship fight might not actually begin until July, completely upending how fans and analysts evaluate the early season standings. Formula One usually rewards the teams that start fast, but this specific regulatory environment heavily favors the teams that can adapt the fastest. Whether this calculated gamble redefines the entire grid or ends in a spectacular mechanical failure We are watching an engineering masterclass unfold in real time. If you enjoyed this analysis of the paddock, hit subscribe for more racing content.